Hi friends, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be canning Concord grape juice. This juice tastes incredible. Until you've had home canned Concord grape juice, you don't know what you're missing. I'm going to show you some ways that you can can this without a lot of expensive tools. I'll be doing this over a couple days time because I'll be picking them one evening and then the next day I'll be canning them. And we even have a surprise visitor that will be helping me with this process. So let's get started. It's time to pick these beautiful grapes. They're nice and ripe and they smell so good. Beautiful. I got my fancy little picking bag here. It'll speed up the process of picking these grapes. The nice thing about having big grapes is it fills the bucket quick. They're so ripe though, they're trying to all fall off of the vine. There is a lot of grapes on these. They'll definitely be flavorful. I've been sampling them for several days now. These ones are a little easier to pick. It don't take long to fill a bucket with these great big grapes. It'll take a while to clean all these grapes, but it's going to be so worth it. Look how pretty they look. I'm not going to pick these grapes because they are the seedless Concord grapes and they just don't taste very good. They taste more like a wine grape or something, but I probably won't put them in the grape juice because I just don't care for the flavor of them. So we have some grapes here that climb all the way up into some shoemake trees. So I have to use a ladder to get these, and they're not as nice as the grapes that are down there in the garden, but they still taste really good, so I'm going to pick as many as I can get to. There's quite a few grapes up in here, and I do have to climb a ladder here, but it's worth my time. These are very tasty grapes. Well, there's the grapes. I have about 24 gallons of grapes. Sparky thinks she needs to eat something. Sparky? No. Hey. You want to say hi? Yeah, so there's about 24 gallons of grapes here. And so I have 3 5-gallon buckets and a couple of 4-gallon buckets. So I would say, Sparky, stay out of there. I would say altogether probably about 24 gallons. So I'm going to get these all cleaned up, get them off the vines, and then hopefully tomorrow I can start cooking them down. So I got my mom here. Hi. She's helping me clean the grapes. And so what she's doing is she's just pulling them off of the stem and putting them in the bowl and then just discarding the stems. It's not a real big deal if some of the little pieces are left on the grapes. I'm not sure if she has any in here. It looks like she's getting them cleaned pretty good, but that's the main thing with this, is just basically getting them off the stem. And the reason why you want to get them off the stem is because a lot of times they don't taste very good. And there's one lady that I follow, she left them on and her kids didn't like it. So I can imagine that it would alter the flavor of the grape juice if you left them in there. So basically we're just going to get these all clean and then we'll get them in a pot so that we can cook them down. I put about 1.5 quarts of water inside of this. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. So now I'm going to get my grapes in here and so I can start cooking them down. So I have 18 quarts of grapes here that are all clean and ready to put in the pot. I also have some more over there, but I'll get these in so I have another container. And I'll just put these right in on top of that water. And then I'm turning this on low heat and I'll leave it there so it can cook down good before I turn it up, because I don't want any of the sticking. The water should keep it from sticking, but if you get it up too high and there's not enough liquid, it could stick to the bottom. Get the rest of these in here. It looks like these 3 are going to fill it. Yeah. This is a big pot too. It must be about a 20-quart pot. So this one's filled. We'll keep working on cleaning the other ones and we'll get another pot on here cooking it down. All right, so let's get this lid off of here. I just had it kind of boiling over here. So I had to slide the lid off. So you want to keep an eye on that, because if the lid goes on all the way and it starts boiling like crazy, it's going to boil over. So this is cooked down quite a bit. I have stirred it periodically. So I have a masher. I think I'll go ahead and mash this. You can use a potato masher if you have one. It's just that there's quite a bit of grapes in here, so I have a long handle one I'll use. So you can see this is a very long masher. It's got a nice mashing end on it. So I got this from a guy that sells a lot of like restaurant supply type stuff. So I figured it'd probably work good for something like this. But in most cases, when you're not doing this many grapes, you probably wouldn't need something so big. So basically, I'm just kind of mashing these up. It smells really good in the house with all of this grape stuff going. So I'll just make sure that all of these grapes are good and mashed and let it cook down just a little bit more. And then I'll strain this through into another container. I'll show you what these are looking like over here. I'm gonna stir these down. They're a little bit further behind. You can see they're still cooking down some of these top grapes. But I'll get them all stirred up so that the top grapes can get cooked down also. But you can see how much juice it makes, so that's why you don't need a whole lot of water. Now some people will put a 1-to-1 ratio. They'll put as much water in as they have grapes, but I've never seen where that was necessary, and I feel like it dilutes it more. I like it to be more of a concentrate because it takes more jars to can it otherwise. That's why I do it this way. So yeah, this needs to cook down a little bit more. I might turn this up just a little bit, and then we're gonna have at least one more big pot to do also. I'll leave this opened up just a little. I don't want this one boiling over too. I'm afraid of what kind of mess the other one made. I have this pot off and I'm gonna move it over here. Oh my goodness, it's heavy. Set that here next to the strainer. So I'm gonna be using this strainer here. There's so many different ways you can do this. You could use like a regular strainer, and then you could put like a cheesecloth or something in there to strain it out even more. I don't mind having like some of the grape sediments in the juice, but if you like it completely clear, you may want to do a different method. But this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pour it in here. This just kind of helps filter out the rest of the seeds and get the rest of the juice out of the strainer. I'll just pour that in there. And once the strainer gets full, then I'll start pushing some of that juice out. This can be very messy, so you want to make sure you have dark colored clothes on or an apron, which I hardly never think to put an apron on. And be very careful because this is very hot. I do have a juicer that would probably work, but I feel like it would take a long time to run it through there. This is pretty quick. If you don't have a strainer and you're using a cheesecloth, you'd put it in the cloth and then you'd like squeeze it out. I feel like that's even messier, but there's a lot of ways that you can do this without spending a lot of money. I wouldn't mind someday having one of them juice extractors, but up until now, I haven't been able to justify it because I don't do enough juice, but considering I had like 24 gallons of grapes this time, I think I could have easily justified it, but I don't mind doing it this method. It's only a day's worth of work, or a couple days when you factor in picking all the grapes. And I should get quite a few quarts of grapes out of these. I think what I'll do to extract the rest of this, I'm going to put it in a clean container so it's not sitting in that juice. And then I can rest it on here and press them out a little bit easier. So I'm going to keep pressing this until I get it to where they're pretty dry. And then I'll know that most of the grape juice has been extracted. Everything's so steamy, it's kind of hard to see. And I'll wait till I get this completely extracted, dump this out, and then I'll pour more in here. This will go in the compost pile. I'm gonna get a slop bucket so I can get this in there and do some more. I want to show you, if you don't have one of these little pusher things, a spoon will work also. So you can use any type of a strainer, you can put it in there. And then you just take your spoon and push it up against the edge of it, and it will help extract that juice out from the sieve. And so you just keep doing that, and you can stir it and it'll help it to come out. And the spoon actually works quite well because you can pull it off the sides so that that juice can extract a little bit easier. But the thing with the pusher is that you can kind of push that pulp down to extract more of the juice. But you could do the same thing with the edge of the spoon by just pushing against the edge to extract more of that juice. And the other thing that I didn't mention is that if you're doing this method and you want it just a little bit more filtered, you could run this back through another finer sieve to make sure that everything is extracted really well. I gotta show you my awful mess here. So I've got stuff everywhere here, as well as a mess on the floor. I've got grape juice all over. So when I get done here, I'll have a lot to clean up. I got grape juice on my stove too. Okay, so I washed up 36 jars. I'm not sure if I have enough, but we will soon find out. So I got 2 pots of grape juice here, all ready for sugar. A lot of times I don't even put sugar in them, but I thought this time I would. But I'm gonna keep it on the low end. So I'm going to turn these back on and heat them up just a little bit, add the sugar so that it'll completely dissolve. I took a little break so they've cooled off a little bit. I don't need to heat it up a whole lot. The recommendation for the sweetener in this is a 1/2 cup per quart. And I want it to be a little bit on the light side rather than having it too sweet. So I'm going to put equivalent of 1/4 cup per quart. I have more in this pot. So I'll stir that in. I'm just gonna heat this up a little bit, let the sugar dissolve, and then we're gonna get it in our jars. All right, I'll get these both off. So I'm gonna move these over on the counter to ladle out of, and then I'm gonna bring over my pots that I will be canning in so they can start getting warm. Get these moved over here. It'll be closer to my jars too. Oh my goodness, this one is heavy. I have very hot water in the jars. And you want to make sure that you have hot water in the jars before you pour in hot contents or the jar can shatter. So I'll put my funnel on here and I'll start pouring it in. This can be very messy. And the ball book says to leave 1/4 inch of head space at the top. I'll probably leave a little bit more just to be on the safe side. I think that's pretty good. I got these jars all filled and I got my pots on with the hot water warming up so that I can get these jars in there whenever we get done here. So at this point I'm going to take my cloth and wipe off the tops of all of these, and I always go over them twice. And the nice thing with something very colorful like this is you can tell if there's still something on the jar if it comes out colorful. Now it's time to get my lids on these. I don't feel that it's necessary to debubble these because it's just liquid. Get my rings on. Just finger tight, that's all. So I'll get some of these over here in the kettle. Okay, I have my jars in here. Ball says to put the water 1 inch over the top of the jars. So now I'll just let this come to a boil. After it comes to a boil, it's only 15 minutes and then we'll be turning it off. Okay, it's come to a boil, so I'm gonna set the timer for 15 minutes. And then I'll get the lid back on here. And we'll come back in 15 minutes. All right, the time is up, so I'm gonna turn this off and then I'll let it sit here for 5 minutes before I take the jars out. All right, they're ready to come out of the water. And one thing you'll just want to make sure is not to tip these sideways. There's water usually on the lid, but that's okay, it'll evaporate. The problem with tipping them sideways is you take a chance on some of the juice, if it's not completely sealed just yet, some of the juice getting up under the lid. I think these look so pretty. It's such a deep purple color. Boy, I could get big muscles doing this all day long. I have 12 more quarts to go, so I'm going to repeat this whole process all over again. So we'll come back whenever everything is done. All right, it's time to get the last of the jars out of the canner. It's been a very long day, but I am grateful to have gotten so many jars of grape juice canned. Look at all this beautiful grape juice. We have 26 quarts that are canned, and then we have a partial jar, so that makes almost 27 quarts of grape juice. Since we have this extra jar, I think we need to give this a try and see how good it is. I'll pour some here on ice. Because this is a concentrate, you can add water or you can add just ice cubes, so I'm gonna do that. Typically, I'd let it sit for a while to dilute, but I'm excited to give it a try. It's full of great flavor, grape and great. If you've never tried homemade grape juice, I recommend giving it a try. I don't think you can even buy anything in the store that tastes anything like this. We had a friend over a couple years ago, and I served homemade grape juice, and he took one drink of that and he says, "You need to bottle this and sell it, it's so good." While I don't have time to bottle a bunch of grape juice and sell it, I think it's such a wonderful thing to be able to have so many quarts of grape juice to be able to offer people whenever they come over for a meal, or even just for us to have here at home. So I hope it inspired you to give it a try, because it is so good. It's so worth the effort. And yes, I am tired. It's been a long day. You think about how much grape juice I now have that I can enjoy in the middle of winter. I'll be able to enjoy the flavors of summer. So if you enjoy videos like this, consider subscribing so that you can join me here again next time. I hope that you all are having a wonderful day. Bye for now.